I am a mood reading goblin, and I like it that way. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today, guys, we are wrapping up November. But before we jump into it, please do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help this channel grow. You can check the description box down below for links to all of my social media, including information about my book club / Patreon, which you can join for as little as $1 a month, and the Wizards Enclave Discord if you want to join a great bookish community. With that out of the way, guys, first half of this month was some of the best reading I've done since joining BookTube. Second half of the month, complete chaos when it comes to mood reading. And I am here for it. I'm okay with it. This is why we've changed the TBR / MBR to POP, Pile of Possibilities. And yeah, let's just jump right on in with these two I haven't quite finished yet. Over here, this is kind of a stand-in. I'm just holding up a Fred the Vampire Accountant book, because this is, I think, the first series that I wrapped up this year in November. But basically, the final book came out, all accounts settled, in Drew Hayes' Fred the Vampire Accountant. We're going to put that down because it's, well, frankly, not the right book. It's just a placeholder. But essentially, Drew Hayes on Halloween was just like, hey, by the way, here's the final book. I know you've been waiting for it. Enjoy. And let me tell you what, if you were going to end a series that I've been reading for 4 or 5 years that way, I'm so happy it ended that way, because it was phenomenal. It was heartwarming. It stayed true to the series. Fred never deviates from his characterization. It keeps the same format throughout the entire series, which is essentially these linear progression short story collections, or maybe they're novellas. I've never actually taken the time to look. There's like 4 or 5 chapters in each story, in each book, and each book can have 3 or 4 stories. And basically, each adventure kind of moves Fred's story forward, where he's finding his way in the supernatural world. He's trying to stay true to himself. He's bringing this friend group together. He's fighting against his sire, Quinn. And overall, just where we end up in this final book, all accounts settled, was amazing. It was perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. And if it had to end, at least it ended on a high note. I loved the end of this series. Phenomenal job, Drew Hayes. Way to go. And this is the second series that Drew Hayes has absolutely nailed. The first one being Superpowers, second one being Fred the Vampire Accountant. So incredibly good. Please do yourself a favor and read these books if you like kind of your magical to have a little bit of the mundane. This series is so good for that. Fred is a vampire, or an accountant who gets turned into a vampire, finds out he's terrible at being a vampire, and then just adjusts his lifestyle to continue being an accountant. And then from there, he just stays as an accountant as issues come at him throughout the series. It's fantastic. It's got action, it's got humor, it's got heartbreak, it's got heartwarming moments. Such a great series. And then at one point during the month, we're gonna start talking about another book now. At one point during the month, I was just like, I finished a fantasy book, and I was just like, okay, I've got 2 fantasy books on deck. I probably shouldn't jump straight into another fantasy book. What can I jump into? Well, on my December pile of possibilities, I had this. This was Clive Cussler's The Chase. And The Chase was the book I walked away from Clive Cussler's work from about 3 years ago, I think. I got 50% into the book, and for some reason, just walked away. And I was like, I think I'm done with Clive Cussler. I'm now looking at a shelf behind the camera that has nothing but Clive Cussler on it, because I am so back. And yeah, I'm so happy to be back, because I came back, started from the beginning, and finished The Chase. After 3 years, I finally finished this book, and I don't know why I walked away. I must have been in a different sort of headspace. This is why don't do what I do. I'm trying a lot harder to be better at this. But essentially, if something doesn't work for me in the moment, I have the tendency to be like, I must be done with this from now on. And I will get rid of that book series, because I've just had one bad moment. That's a terrible thing to do. Don't do that. As readers, we are very just malleable. We go through phases. That doesn't mean that phase is over. It can always come back. And the proof is in the pudding here with The Chase, because this is a historical thriller. I think it takes place in, is it the early 1900s or the late 1800s? Anyway, basically we're following Isaac Bell. He is a part of the Van Dorn Detective Agency. And a lot of people don't know this, but basically there were detective agencies in the Americas or in America in the early to late 1800s and 1900s, and they were kind of like supplemental police officers, and they would go out and they could do things that like mainly the FBI does now. Like they could go across state lines, and they had offices all over the nation and stuff like that. And this is what Isaac Bell's a part of, and he's like their top agent. Basically, you've got this individual who is going around to all these tiny little banks and robbing them of their mining money. Basically, they have the payroll for the miners, and basically he goes into the bank, steals the money, and gets away clean, kills everybody in the bank. Nobody can figure out who this individual is. In comes Isaac Bell, and it's just phenomenal. It's fantastic the way that Isaac Bell goes through this. Is this going to be like your top tier literature? No. But, I mean, it's got that, like, do you remember the TV show, like, Wild Wild West? I know there was a movie. Ignore the movie of the Wild Wild West. This is like James Bond paired with the TV show Wild Wild West. And it's just fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. Not a lot of gadgets for Isaac Bell, but he does have like the high end of like the automobiles, the motorcycle, the emerging new technology of the century. Isaac Bell is wealthy, independently wealthy of his job because his family owns a bank and stuff like that. Anyway, he goes on and he solves this mystery, and it's fantastic. I loved this book. So much so that I've actually added the second book to December's pile of possibilities. So I'm still reading an Isaac Bell, Clive Cussler book, but it's not going to be the first one. It's going to be the second one because I enjoyed the first one so much. Fantastic. I'd give that one like a 4 out of 5. Really, really good. I then, of course, read Ravenheart. This is the third Regante. David Gemmell, fantastic. Again, this is probably right now, as of right now, is this my favorite David Gemmell book? Like, there are some really good David Gemmell books, but this one was phenomenal, especially because of Jane Grimmick. The characterization of Jane Grimmick, basically you got Kaelin Ring, who is kind of your young protagonist, and he's this up-and-coming Regante individual. This takes place 800 years after book 2, so it's a whole new different situation. The culture has moved on, the land, like the Regante are a repressed people. They've fallen from kingship to now they are secondhand citizens type of deal. And they've been trodden upon, and they're kind of sick of it. And Kaelin Ring's this young individual who lost his father before he was even born. And Jane Grimmick was his father's best friend. He's kind of stepped in as like an uncle / surrogate father figure, showed him the ways of the Regante. And Jane Grimmick is just such a great character. He's the perfect mentor character. He is strong, yet gentle when he needs to be. He's firm. He's just funny. I loved Jane Grimmick, and he turned this book into something special for me. And so I will definitely say, please do yourself a favor. If you're even remotely interested in David Gemmell and you liked, let's say, Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne, you're going to love this series. You're going to love it because this series helped inspire John Gwynne. Do yourself a favor. Check this out. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. Phenomenal book. I loved everything about this. So yes, that's my say on Regante. Fantastic. So good. The Patreon Book Club book, Ararat by Christopher Golden. Now, this one is a kind of adventure thriller with a horror thrown into the mix. And essentially, I will say the premise of this book is what makes it awesome. The main character, not so much. I can't even tell you his name. It's like Ben something. I think it's like Ben Walker or something like that. He's got, like, a lot of the characters are kind of interchangeable, but basically the premise of this is phenomenal. There's an earthquake or an avalanche, and a cavern opens up on Mount Ararat. And essentially they set up an archaeological dig because they find a boat. They think it might be the titular Ark, and they open up the dig and they start doing stuff around there. They find a body that has horns, and it's kind of freaking everybody out because they're like, oh, is this a demon? Enter the main character, who's from DARPA. He's been kind of sent over to kind of like figure out what's going on here. He doesn't tell anybody he's from DARPA, which is like a secret organization here in America that focuses on technology, or supposedly. I don't actually know if DARPA is a real thing. Let me know in the comments if like I know like DARPA has been thrown around as like, you've got the Sigma Force series by James Rowlands, and those are DARPA books. So maybe DARPA is real. I don't actually know for certain. But anyway, stuff starts happening. It gets kind of creepy. There's a horror element. There's possession elements. It feels like a haunted house story. And it gets wild fast. This will go from 0 to 100 like that. And like the last 40%, 30 to 40% of this book was straight adrenaline. I will be reading more Christopher Golden because this was fantastic. Now, in terms of my actual rating versus like the quality of the story, I would give this probably a 7 out of 10. We're going to give it like a 3.5 out of 5. Really good, fast-paced, pulse-pounding. Not the deepest stories with the greatest characterizations, but still very good. So that's kind of my thoughts on Ararat. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Crooked River, another Pendergast. You knew this was coming. I've been doing a Pendergast a month for months now. And essentially this one is, it's got Pendergast still in Florida. And he's still kind of like recovering from the events of the last book, Versus for the Dead, where he hunted down a serial killer. And now there's no titular serial killer here, but essentially on Sanibel, 100 feet with shoes in them just wash up on shore. And he has to go and investigate what's going on here. And the whole story is basically them investigating, trying to figure out where these feet came from. They enlist kind of like scientists to try and like do drift pattern things with computers to figure out where these feet originated from. And overall, like there's this wild hunt to figure out what's going on. The last, I'd say 10 to 15% of this book is pure insanity. But probably I would give this one, I'm going to give it a rating. I'm also going to give this one like a 3.5 out of 5. I still really enjoyed this, but it was missing that titular villain. Instead, it was kind of a sense of ominous, like something messed up is going on. And then, of course, we've got Constance Green, who has kind of made a resurgence into the series, and she's kind of doing her own thing. There's a secondary investigation that she's conducting to try and figure out what's going on here with this particular house that she and Pendergast have rented to kind of do this case in Florida. So overall, really enjoyed this. Not my favorite of the Pendergast books, but still a solid entry. Very good. And then the second series I completed this month, The Trial of Rooker Flynn by A.R. Witham. This is the conclusion to the Locke Institute trilogy, but not the last Keymark book. I want to preface, I finished the Locke Institute books, but there is more coming in Keymark. And this was phenomenal. This was fantastic. This is everything I wanted this story to be. If you're looking for character development and payoffs, this series has it in spades. A.R. Witham knocked this one out of the park. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. This is the conclusion to the trilogy. Essentially, if you've been paying any attention at all to when I talk about these books, which is sporadic at best, but basically we've got Rooker Flynn and Jack Swift. They have been kidnapped from the first book, and they've gone through trials and tribulations on the island of Wang Hoon, overrun by the evil wizardess Gerba Whitmarples. Basically, she's got control of the monsters on this island, and she uses them to terrorize these inmates that she's bought and purchased through bounty hunters. She's trying to and finds like wanted posters for criminals, and then she sends bounty hunters after them to bring them to her island for forced labor because she is hunting something evil. In this book, it all comes to a head, and man, I'm excited for more Keymark, which I'm going to have to wait for because I think A.R. Witham is working on other stories. But the payoffs that we get here, the insights into Rooker Flynn and Black Jack and their character growth, really, really, really good. Tons of adrenaline, and man, if it all had to come to an end, at least it was nailed. This is really, really, really good. I highly recommend you check out A.R. Witham's Locke Institute trilogy. Very good. And then, let's see. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Yes. Mark of the Fool 5 by Zogarth. And I was going to do like Primal Hunter. I just didn't end up having time this month. My mood reading just kind of got away from me. But Mark of the Fool 5. I came back to Mark of the Fool 5 after finishing Solo Leveling. And I think Mark of the Fool 5 was this month. It could have been the end of last month. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm just repeating myself. But basically, this is a progression fantasy series where we've got an individual who is kind of a reluctant chosen one. But he's part of a group of chosen ones from his nation. And basically this is like, at the end of the book 4, I was just like, I feel like we jumped the shark here. And I kind of lost interest in the series. And then I was like, maybe I should come back and give Mark of the Fool another shot. And I did. And I ended up loving Mark of the Fool 5. Alex Roth, I believe, is the main character's name. And I could have that wrong 100%. I'm just going off of my memory. But basically, his character growth and the way his magic is progressing and the way he's utilizing his handicap, because he is known as the Fool, which is supposed to prevent him from being a mage, prevent him from entering combat. He's supposed to be support only. He's found workarounds, and he's using those workarounds to get incredibly powerful. And it's working for him. And then we're also starting to dive into the deeper mysteries of the series. We're kind of at the halfway point now. And some things are starting to not add up. Questions are starting to be asked. More people are being brought into this conspiracy of like, hey, we're not being told the whole story in terms of the chosen ones. Something isn't right. And it's really, really good. I'm excited to continue with Mark of the Fool 6. So yes, I finished that one as well. And then I got 2 books. It's currently Friday, and like Monday is the first where you're watching this. So I'm recording on Friday, so I've got a little bit of time. I am 70% or 69% into Some Danger Involved by Will Thomas. I should finish this. This is kind of a period piece detective duo story whodunit, and it's phenomenal. It's not my favorite thing ever, but it's really, really good. It's incredibly readable. I'm invested in Llewellyn. I'm invested in Barker. And the structure is a little different, but the way it's written as if it was written modern, but in that time period as well. It's a little odd. But man, like at 70%, it feels like we're doing character development backwards. Because at 70%, you finally get like Llewellyn's backstory. And yet at the same time, it makes sense. It doesn't feel forced. At no point in time have I been like, man, I wish I knew this aspect of Llewellyn. But when I finally know the aspect, it feels really good. Overall, like, I'm really enjoying this. I'd give this an 8 out of 10 for just my first taste of Will Thomas. And in terms of detective fiction, it reads really well. It is a higher level reading. It is a higher reading level than I'm normally used to when reading my mysteries. This is written probably at like, I would say 12th grade to college level. I'm really happy that my Kobo has that kind of dictionary because it uses a lot of older words, a lot of period words that I'm just like, I don't know what that is. And so luckily I can just tap on the word and it'll tell me what it is. But very enjoyable. There is some humor in here as well. Essentially, basically, a rabbi in training, I believe, is what's going on here, has been found crucified in a market center, like biblically crucified type of deal. And they're trying to figure out who has done this. And overall, like at 70%, I have no idea who's done it because I don't think the characters know either. But man, it's going to come down to the wire. But I hope this book sticks the landing. And then finally, I was going to either do Lois McMaster Bujold's Shards of Honor, or I was going to do Kate Elliott's Witch Roads. And I ended up doing neither of those. For some reason, I wanted to come back to Arcane Ascension, and that's When Wizards Follow Fools by Andrew Rowe. This is the 5th book in the series. It is by no means the best book in the series. Not by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't bother me. I've got a kind of background in website coding, HTML, CSS, and stuff like that. And also, like, I'm used to hard magic systems and stuff like that, and I'm an autistic individual. So everything that Corin's doing in here, this gets into the nitty gritty of the magic system for a lot longer than it probably should. Because of who I am, that stuff doesn't bother me, but I can see why it does bug a lot of readers. A lot of the friends I know who have read this are like, the first 50% is a trial. And it's not engaging and gripping to me, but I'm still enjoying the experience. So that's kind of my thoughts here. I'm only right now, I think I'm 30% into the book, and it's been fine. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts here on When Wizards Follow Fools. I can't see this being higher than a 7 out of 10 right now. The ending would have to be absolutely explosive for it to exceed a 7 out of 10. But overall, I am enjoying it. So those are my thoughts and everything that I read in the month of November. Let me know in the comments down below what you read in November. Do you agree with my thoughts on the books that I've read? Have I enticed you to read any of these books? Please, I would love to hear from you. But that, again, is all I've really got for you. Till next time, guys, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.